we obviously know Tuitt did retire a couple days ago, 8 years in the league and all that good stuff. And now we are trying to figure out what to do with the pieces, whether it's an in-house fix or if you have to outsource. Ton of names will come up, Suh being one of them. Suh could definitely fit. I think that when you're talking about Suh, though, is just, and I might have said this before when we talked about him in the past, before we obviously knew officially about the Tuitt situation. We were just thinking about, should we bring in other D linemen? Suitt, combining them both. But with Suh, I think that if you're talking about him as a penetrator, he can definitely give you the productivity there. If you're talking about him as a playmaker, I think in certain capacities, he can help you there. Obviously, you know the physicality. Obviously, you know the high pedigree. My biggest concern with Suh at this stage in his career, he's never had to play in a defense like this, where it's not always about the D lineman just penetrating and being disruptive. In our defense, when you're in base, your job is to keep those LBs, Devin Bush, Miles Jack, clean. We saw last year when obviously Miles Jack wasn't here, but when Devin Bush wasn't clean, and now granted, that is not the only reason why he played bad. Is it a part of it? Sure, but it's not the only reason. But did it have a role in it? Absolutely. Because when you're undersized, it is hard to deal with big offense linemen up on you. Not saying that it's an excuse, but it is a part of that picture. So with Suh, he's never been in the defense where he's had to keep guys clean. He's always been penetrate, be disruptive. And when he was in Detroit and even that first year in Tampa, I thought he did a good job of still making those caliber plays where you can get away with it. But at this stage, how frequently is he making those plays? Because that's the risk reward element of it. When a guy isn't as gap disciplined as you need to be, or like the Steelers would want him to be, if he's not making that play, it kills the integrity of your defense, which in this sense would hurt us in the run game, which we already struggled with last year. So the thing with Suh is just, if you're going to bring him on, I would, to me personally, you'd have to have that type of conversation of, can you do this part of it? We know you can do that part. When we know we're in sub ball, you can penetrate, you can get off the ball, you can wreak havoc and all that stuff. But when we're in this base style defense, can you do these parts right here? Can you take a little bit of a back seat to your playmaking on a play in and play out basis to make sure the integrity of the defense is what it is? Those are some of the things that I would be concerned with Suh. And because he's older, not all the time do older players want to switch something that they've been doing for 10 plus years, which Suh has been. So that would be my only, concern with him. Another guy that I thought of was, and we talked about him as well a couple episodes ago, was Larry Ogunjobi. We said that, he was extremely talented. He had signed a mega deal. It was like 3 for $45 million this offseason, but the deal fell through because of the medical stuff. So he's another guy that I think is extremely athletic, could definitely plays extremely familiar with the division. He played in Cleveland, was in Cincinnati the past year. So he knows how to ball. He knows how to be productive and, get the job done in this division. But once again, is he willing to do some of those things that I was just talking about with Suh? I think that he's the younger and the more athletic, fresher version, but he's also going to be the most expensive version because of those things as well. But with any of these guys that we're going to talk about, pull up names with and stuff like that, if they're on the market at this time of year, it's for a reason. They're all going to have some type of flaw, some type of, that might make you want to stay away from them. But that's just the timing of it. We can't control when Tuitt retired, when he announced it and things like that. But it's a different crop of players in June than it is in, say, March and April,
I still think good enough, though.
Well, good enough depending on what you're looking for.
Because Goldman, he's a pretty damn good player. The only problem with him has been, I think last year was a little more of a down year. He took the COVID season off. So of recent memory, we haven't seen the Goldman of old. But he's still young.
But once again, though, you just said he took the COVID year off, so it makes you wonder, okay, what is that going to look like? That's all.
I think enough to... You're willing to take chances on these guys, at least. Okay. I think you're fine with it. There's bigger names. And with Ogunjobi, this could be a blessing in disguise to actually have a chance at him, because we wouldn't have had a chance at him early on. It all depends now on passing the physical. But it goes to your point, 100% right. It's like, what do you want? Because you could sign probably some of these veterans for cheaper contracts.
You definitely could. Yeah.
But that are up there in age, and they might be playing more of a limited role, like someone like Sheldon Richardson or Starlo Laley. Ndamukong Suh, does he fit?
Yeah.
But then you got the two dudes in their prime with Eddie Goldman and Ogunjobi. You're worried about either bounce back in Goldman's case or Ogunjobi with the physical, the health. And if those contracts, here's the thing with Ogunjobi and Goldman, if those contracts can be reasonable, I think that's a good risk to take. If it's not in the double digit range, and it's something like 6 or 7.
But how do you not go double digits? Like Larry would have signed for double digits.
I just wonder as time went on and teams have started to use up their cap space, and now we know there's a little bit more injury risk with him. Maybe that number goes down. That's what I'm thinking.
But we also know now too that supply and demand. I know you need a certain caliber D lineman to come in here, because if not, we're going to repeat. Not saying it's going to be the exact same as last year, but you're taking the exact same players from last year. All you did was just add DeMarvin Leal, and you're going to say, hey, we're going to get a different version.
Maybe a bigger role for Loudermilk.
Yeah, but either way, I'm saying it's the same players, though, right? Sure. You're bringing, and Tyson comes back.
Yeah.
But it's legit the same core that was a part of this run defense being as bad as it was at times. So that's the part for me where I'm just kind of like, man, do you trust that these guys have improved enough to change that? Are you willing to risk that? Are you willing to take that chance? Because I do think that
I think you bring in a guy.
Yeah.
I have no problem with bringing in a guy, especially now with our cap space.
Yeah.
Additional $9 million. I think we're at what, 21 million. I don't know how much stuff we got to account for going forward in the offseason, but we could also do restructures if we got to make stuff happen. We definitely, I think, got to look at defensive line here. And I think we are. Yeah. I mean, we're going to sign someone.
Yeah. I mean,
that's it in terms of need right now. That's it.
Yeah, but
left tackle depends on more.
This was the scenario that we were all trying to figure out. If he comes back, we feel great about our D line. If he doesn't, we feel like there is a hole there. Because even though Chris Wormley, I think, can play well and can get you out of the stadium, even though Loudermilk, I think, is continuing to develop, even though DeMarvin Leal, I'm excited to see him play, none of those three guys are Stephon Tuitt right now. And when you're talking about all three of those guys collectively working together to give you Tuitt level production, yeah, in certain aspects you can, but there's still going to be a void there at some portion, whether it's until DeMarvin Leal gets up to speed, whether it's, okay, Isaiah Loudermilk gifted, but at the same time, we're not expecting a fifth round draft pick to be able to do what Tuitt was doing in year 2 of their NFL career. So yeah, I do think you got to add some talent, but what does that talent look like, and what is the cost of that talent?
Yeah, because you could also go the trade route. We brought up J.J. Watt, and there's another name that's out there, a little return action maybe.
Yeah, that's the intriguing part to me is
Hargrave.
Yeah, but once again, this is the thing though with Hargrave. If you're talking when we go sub package ball, he fits perfectly. But if you're talking base, he's a nose.
You're right.
So you would have essentially him and Tyson there versus having that traditional guy that can come in and give you Tuitt level productivity. I've seen other people talk about Fletcher Cox as well, because just that whole thought process of,
they just signed him.
I know that's fine.
They restructured his contract and everything.
Because remember, they were talking, was he going to get released or not or anything like that, and then they just ended up doing the contract over and stuff for him. But that was the other guy that I saw people talk about and stuff. But to me, Fletcher goes back to the Suh category. It's like that's not what he's been asked to do in his career. He's been this style of player. Could you do it? Sure, but that's part of.
So you don't think Hargrave makes sense because he wouldn't do the Tuitt stuff really?
Well, if you're talking sub ball, yeah, he definitely can bump out there and he'll play that, but Hargrave isn't a 3-4 DN. He's a 3-4 nose tackle. That's where he thrived at. His length is not perfect for nose, but it works better as a nose than it would playing out there as a 3-4 DN. That's all.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So our best options might be the free agency then.
Yeah.
Because if we would have went for Hargrave, or if we are going for Hargrave, you got to trade probably a draft pick or two.
Yeah.
And his cap hit,
Pro Bowl season, and he got the contract.
Yeah, his cap hit's kind of rough right now. It's in the teens, and you would hope maybe the Eagles could take on some of that. And then you probably have to worry about, do we got to re-sign him too? Which actually wouldn't be probably a bad thing, because then we'd have our nose for the next 3 or 4 years.
True.
Let Tyson go, and that's that. I wouldn't mind going for, and I think I said this whenever we talked about the defensive line a couple podcasts ago, I wouldn't mind just grabbing maybe 2 of these guys. Grab Starr.
Okay.
He could rotate with Alualu.
Yeah.
And then grab another veteran like Sheldon. Sheldon Richardson could kind of do the Tuitt stuff, right? Because he's a little more athletic.
Mm-hmm.
Sheldon Richardson or Ndamukong Suh, whoever it is, I think you could do both.
But how much money are you trying to allocate to those type of guys, though?
Not much. I mean, Star's those guys are probably getting like $3 million.
Yeah, I think Star you can get for cheaper. Suh's the one I'm just kind of like
because of the name.
Yeah,
because his last deal was $9 million a year. I don't know how much he's trying to come off that.
Say you going from 9 to 3. That's all.
Well, we can afford it. Actually, we could probably do. What if we did Star and Ogunjobi or Star and Goldman? We can afford that.
Yeah.
I would think. Let's say Ogunjobi or Goldman's 8.
So then who are you getting rid of then also? Because now if you're bringing in 2 dudes, it's going to make that room even more crowded.
Someone's getting cut. You're right.
Because you got Montravius Adams. He's still in there. Isaiah Loudermilk, DeMarvin Leal, Chris Wormley. Let's see. Who else do we have of... Oh, and then Tyson and Cam.
If we're going priority, then we're not looking at nose tackle as much.
Fair.
So someone who could just fill into his role.
And we didn't even count in Mondu. I didn't even put him in that list.
So we looking at Goldman maybe being the best fit? Goldman or Ogunjobi? To do the Tuitt role? Let's just do that then.
Yeah.
Let's just get one of those guys.
Yeah, I would much rather do one guy. If we're getting that caliber guy, sure. But at the same time, I'm hoping it doesn't do this. I hope we actually do go spend a little money and go shopping. But man, I could see a scenario where they're like, "Yo, we believe in our guys. We believe in the growth and development internally.
I low key though do too.
With it, the sum we'll just use a group effort and we'll make it work with this. This group of guys. I'm telling you, I can see it, bro. I can see it. We over here like, yo, they're gonna get this. Like, all right, they're gonna be like, nope. We're gonna trust our group. We're gonna trust their development. We're gonna coach the heck out of them. We're gonna make it work.
I like that because I low-key do too, but at the same time, it would be frustrating leaving all this cap space out there.
I would agree.
Because I was telling my buddies this yesterday. A lot of people are thinking Steelers, rebuild mode, counting us out and stuff. This is not rebuild. This is the time to try to make a run with a quarterback on a cheap contract because we got the rest of our team filled out.
Yep.
Make a run right now.
I would agree. And
that's why I wouldn't really be too happy with us leaving this amount of cap space out there, especially if we do have this defensive line need.
Like last year when we had the what was it from the Castro situation, we had the extra money. We're just like, well, we got this money, but now we don't really have anywhere to spend it, anybody to use it on.
A little bit to Trey Turner. And that was it.
But that was it. Yeah, and even his deal wasn't anything crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and we lost Steven Nelson, Mike Hilton. Would have liked to at least keep one of those guys.
Yeah,
Steven Nelson. Probably the one because we just moved Cam to the slot to replace Mike Hilton, but Nelson would have helped. But we got to see the emergence of Witherspoon.
Yeah,
ball don't lie.
Yeah,
might work out long term for us.
We're gonna see. We're going to see, man.
Yeah. So are we? Oh man, that's interesting. Well, you bringing up the Hargrave stuff changed my opinion a little bit because I was thinking Hargrave would be. Really good trade.
No, I mean,
bring him back. But if you don't think he can do the two, I knew he was a nose tackle, but I thought you could maybe bump him out or rotate him and Alualu, figure it out some way. But
and if he wasn't like, you know how Hargrave, he's short cup.
Yeah.
You know how he's built. He's not built like a long arm, put him out there in space type of dude. So that's why it's like when you're talking him in a 4-3 and he doesn't have any gap responsibility, he doesn't have any keep a guy clean. He can just use his get off and penetrate. Think like an Aaron Donald. But Aaron Donald, you're not trying to put him in a 3-4 and tell him, hey, man, keep that guy behind you clean because that's not his game. He's a smaller, undersized guy who's just cat quick, crazy strong, and he's very fundamentally sound. But you're playing to his strengths in a defense like that. You telling him to keep a guy clean, that's not his strengths. Could he do it? Sure. But it's not going to be to the same level. And I think with Hargrave, it's the same conversation. It's like, could he go out there and do it? Sure. But it is not going to be what we expect to see when we're used to watching him make plays the way that he makes.
Sure. And you'd have to give up draft picks for him.
And it's going to cost,
the cap hit.
He's going to cost, man.
Might not make sense.
And rightfully so, man. He's definitely done a phenomenal job of, earning the money that he's made, getting the accolades that he's made individually. And I'm super happy for him. That's my dude right there. But, I just think that's going to be a tough one, man. We're going to see what my man Omar Kondo, boy, this is a heck of a first situation to overcome. Woo. It's interesting,
He said he had some stuff up his sleeves.
It's interesting. We're going to see. I don't know. Do you have a preference on trade versus free agency? Because I kind of like the trade mindset a little bit better. I think the options, it just opens it up more.
Who else is out there?
But not in the sense of like big names, just in the sense of you don't have to, like, if you wanted to go with how we were saying that, hey, man, they might say we believe in the group. Okay, maybe you feel like you just get you another high-end depth piece to add to that, kind of like a Chris Wormley, another version of that caliber player who I talk very highly of Chris. He's not a superstar, but he's just a good player that you can win with. Maybe you bring in another player like that. That necessarily isn't on the free agency market right now, but when you're talking about trading, maybe that's a little bit cheaper of a trade ask, but they come in and they still can give you critical snaps. Montravius Adams, very similar to that caliber player, where it's like he's not a superstar or anything like that, but we felt some of the positive things that he did, and when you're using him in tandem with other players, you can be successful. Versus if you're saying, hey, Montravius, we want you to start and play 80 snaps, 60 snaps, we're like, nah, bro, that ain't it. But when you're talking about Montravius, how we've been using him as a part of a rotation, we can see the impact, we can feel the productivity, and I just think that that's another, avenue we could potentially take, or the Steelers could potentially take, when they're trying to replace Tuitt's productivity. Because when Tuitt was healthy and motivated, bro, this is a Pro Bowl caliber player. This is a double-digit sack player. This is a 3-down disruptive guy that you have to circle on your scouting report and say, hey, man, how are we going to handle this guy right here?
Especially how he was playing his last 2 years.
Like, seriously, you don't just find that. Even the guys we've been naming in terms of free agents right now, there's still going to be a certain level of drop-off in contrast to the Tuitt that we last saw on the field. So that's the other part. I'm just like, man, do we spend to get close to that? Or do we say, you know what, instead of putting a lot of money in just one guy and hoping that he can live up to that, why don't we, okay, let's go trade for this guy who's a little bit cheaper, but when you're putting him with this group that we already have, it can make this group a lot better.
Yeah.
Just, different thought process with it.
For sure. I think if you had asked me right now, I'd go the Goldman Ogunjobi approach.
Yeah.
Pick up either one of those guys. Because I don't really know who's out there for trade. Hargrave was the one name that came to mind, and I guess someone else just brought up J.J. Watt. Mm-hmm. How's J.J. Watt looking in that defensive end role for a 3-4?
He could play it easily, without a doubt. He's already, he's more of a 4-3 guy, but the way that they would use him at times in Houston, how he would move around the line and how they would try to get multiple to just hide him, he could definitely play that 3-4 DN if he needed to. He has the length, the size, he's fundamentally sound. The two things when it comes to JJ in terms of why I'm hesitant on it, health being number one. Once again, last year, a long season-ending injury early on. That's what, 3-4 years now? Like, it happens more times than not is what it seems. So if I knew he was 100% healthy, great. But I just don't feel like I can count on him for 17 games. That's my biggest hiccup with him. And then the second thing is what it's going to cost, because he did not sign to Arizona for crumbs. He still has a nice cap hit on him. And I personally just don't want to be paying that, knowing that knowing the probability of me not getting him for 17 games is still very high, because he does get injured a lot. Yeah.
Because I guess now we have the cap space, we could make it work, but yeah. I'm with you.
I'm like, bro, do you want to be paying that for 6 games?
No.
Do you want to pay that for 8 games? Like, that's JJ right now.
No.
When he's healthy, still can get it done, still can give you productivity and do it at a high level, but you're not getting that for 17 games. And what that's going to cost, I'm good on that, man.
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm over it. Unless he came over, we only traded like a 6th or 7th round pick, and Cardinals took up a good portion of the salary cap hit that he has. But I'm also thinking, like, I don't know if the Cardinals are really looking to trade him, because they're a little bit in win now mode.
Yeah.
All depends on Kyler Murray.
Well, you know the other dark horse name, he been around. He been in the city for a minute.
We're talking about trade. Who
he been in the city. He said he's fine not he said he's fine not signing an extension. I told you I walked past him, man. He been around. He's at the facility. I've seen him. He still looked the part.
Are we just changing our defense if we bring him in then? We're just playing sub ball every time?
Essentially, yes.
That's what we should do then.
Essentially, yeah. And he's like, bro, money-wise, think about that. That's, yeah.
You want to make it happen? You don't care about the money?
No. What I'm saying is, money-wise, I can't have him and TJ getting 100 apiece. They both can't be the highest paid players in the I can't have that, bro. Like, that's not going to work. Like, how does that work? Just think about that. How does that work? You got 100, he got 100, and Cam got 60. Come on, bro.
That'd be fun.
And we're gonna pay Minka too. Don't worry about it. Minka, you're gonna get another 60 as well. Come on, man.
It would just have to be a 1-year thing for him, where he just wants to play for the Steelers, play for his hometown team. But he has more than 1 year left on his deal, doesn't he? I think it's just this year.
I know he has no more guaranteed money, but I thought he was it. I thought he had 2 left on it.
Let me check real quick. Aaron Donald contract. Yeah, I would think maybe it's one of those things because he seems very satisfied from the interviews that I heard. Yeah. Maybe he just wants to play one season for the Steelers.
He's definitely still working out though. Seeing him, he's still rocked up. It looks the part.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, I'm good with where I'm at. Wanted to play 8 seasons.
He got him a ring.
This would be like Brady going to the 49ers.
Yes.
If Donald came and played for Pittsburgh like 1 year at the end of his career. You're right. He's got 2 more.
Mm-hmm. But just no more guaranteed
2023
money.
And 2024. Yeah. You're right. Cap hit each of those years, 23 and 23.
I mean,
this year it's 26.
Of course he's worth it, but that's hefty, man.
Where are we at cap space? 23?
Come on, bro.
Or 21?
We can't max that thing. All like, you try
restructure TJ.
What they say, bad financial advice right there. That is not good financial. Just because you have this much money remaining, you don't spend that much money, man. We gotta have just a little bit, man.
Well, there's the whole player empowerment era where
you're right, man.
Donald could just say to the Rams, I'm done playing for you guys. I want to go to the Steelers.
He could.
I think the Rams would do him right by that, too.
Yeah, he won him a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, he got a multiple DPOs or Defensive Player of the Year awards. So, yeah, I mean.
The problem would be also him telling them to take on some of my cap hit, too. That would be the problem.
That could be an issue.
Maybe they would just trade him.
Yeah,
get rid of the money, the cap hit, and especially if Donald doesn't want to play for them anymore, they would do that, do right by him. But I don't think they would just take on a good portion of the cap hit to help the Steelers out. You're right, probably not happening.